Here we have some order details for December 2023. If we scroll down, this goes down to row 68, so quite a few entries here. Now, what if we were asked to be able to answer some questions on this dataset? So we need to go ahead and present this data in a way that our audience will be able to comprehend the information and be able to ask questions as well. So we can see that we have a few things here. We have the order ID, we have the order date customer ID, but what if one of the questions was, well, what were the total sales for our products based on city? What about by state? What about by region, sales rep? What about by product or by category? So we can see that we have several options here. We have the revenue that's been calculated here in column new. We have quite a few columns here as well. So in terms of categories, here are the distinct categories that we have. So we want to be able to run some numbers based on categories. We have several products, lots of products as well. How we can find out the total sales were for green tea and New York. Now in terms of, let's say, region, we have 4 regions: East, North, South and West. What about the sales by sales rep? We have quite a few sales reps here as well. So this is a daunting task because again, this is a lot of data. And we would need to be able to manipulate this data, sort, filter, run some calculations, right? Use a lot of table tools, but it's going to be a lot of work here. Just to answer one question, and that's all. To answer only one question, we are going to have to make space and then move things around. That's where a pivot table comes in. So the pivot table already has a lot of built-in functionality for us. We simply need to go ahead and convert or extract this data into a pivot table. And then we will have a lot of analysis tools available to us. I do want to check out the quick analysis tool though. So for the quick analysis tool, I'll just say quickly analyze. If we press Ctrl+Q on your dataset, this will open up the quick analysis dialog. And down here in the bottom, it's giving me some quick analysis tools. So remember, I want to insert a pivot table. So I'll click on tables here and let's see what pivot tables Excel can create for me. So look at this very first one. This is giving me the sum for revenue by region. So I can see the highest revenue in the North region. So pretty cool. This one, sum of revenue by shipper name. So we can see company C, we got the most revenue to that shipper. And then this one here is the sum of shipping fees. That one doesn't really help too much. So we can see that we can get some quick analysis, and this is basically what we want to do. We want to condense all of these rows and columns into a nice simple table where we can quickly answer some questions. Now if I click here, this will actually insert that pivot table for me. So if I click here, here is my pivot table right out of the box, and I can see all the data right here as well. Let's go ahead and create it from scratch. I'll go back to my data tab here and insert a pivot table. Let's go ahead and let's convert this to a table. So I'll press Ctrl T, convert this to a table. When you insert a pivot table from a table, you simply need to right click on the pivot table and refresh. If you want to update the pivot table to show any new values or records that were added to your dataset, so it's much more efficient than working with a list. Okay, now one of the table tools that's available is actually to summarize our data with a pivot table. So I can click on here and this will open up a new worksheet for me, and I'll have a blank canvas to work with. I can also click on the insert tab and choose the pivot table command. They both do the same thing. I'll do this the traditional way. I'll click on insert, I'll click on pivot table. Just make sure that you clicked on any cell inside of your dataset here. I'll go ahead and click on pivot table. Here's my dialog box. As always, it's always asking us what we want to do before we actually proceed. So it's asking me, well, where is the table or range? It's looking on to this table, which is now named table 6. I want to go ahead and place my pivot table on a new sheet. I'll go ahead and press OK. So here we are. Here's our blank canvas. Here's our pivot table. Here are the fields from our data set. And then we have the 4 areas: filters, column, rows, and values. And we will see just by dragging these fields to the boxes, it will start to generate our pivot table over here as well. But the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and rename my pivot table. I'll go ahead and right click here and I'll choose the pivot table options command. Now right at the very top it says pivot table name. Right now it says pivot table 5. I'll go ahead and change that. I'm going to call this December sales. So one more thing I want to do, if you take a look at our fields here, we can see that they are not sorted in alphabetical order. We have quite a few fields. We will make sense if we can sort these from A to Z. To do that, I'll go ahead and click on the display tab here, and on the bottom I'll be able to sort from A to Z. So I'll sort the fields from A to Z. Press OK, then here we go. Alright, let's go ahead and start building our table. I want to go ahead and get the total revenue, so I'll look for revenue. I'll drag that to the values box, and right there it gives me my answer. So pretty cool. Now if I want to go ahead and change that, I want to give the accountant or currency format. What I can do is click on the drop down right here in the values box. I want to go to the field settings here, and from here I can go ahead and change the number format to accounting. I'll go ahead and press OK. Then OK again, and there we go. That's how we insert a pivot table, and that's how we add a field to the box to get our first answer. So let's go ahead and try to answer some questions on this data set here. Now what we want to do when we summarizing data, we want to add numerical values to our values box here. Now we can build the table either by dragging, for example, the revenue to the values box here, or we can ask the pivot table to kind of construct itself for us. So if I were to just click on the checkbox here for revenue, it places it into the values box for me because it's a numerical value. It's also summarizing the revenue as well, but I can change this. So what if I, instead of summarizing the revenue, I want to count how many transactions we had, let's say by region. So because we have order ID, let's see, here's my order ID. I'll go ahead and click here. So it's giving me the sum of order IDs. Well, that's not what I want. I want to count how many orders I had. So to do that, instead of the sum, I want to change this to the count. So to do that, I'll click on the drop down here. I'll go back to value field settings, and notice right here I can change it from the sum to the count function. So I'll go ahead and change that to the count, and up here for the custom name that appears, instead of saying, count of order ID, I'll change this to something else. Let's say, like, I'll just say orders. I'll go ahead and press OK, and let's see what happens. So we can see it now, it says orders, and so I have 65 total orders. And that's correct because we had 65 records on our original data set. Now let's go ahead and figure out how many orders we had, let's say by region. I'll click on region here, so I'm getting some more information. Here's my grand total for all of my orders, but now I'm getting some more specific information. So 16 orders in the east, 20 in the north, 12 in the south, and 17 in the west. As you are beginning to see the pivot table, there's a lot that it's doing behind the scenes that we are not aware of. A lot of calculations, a lot of logical functions, right? That's happening here as well. Well, now that I have that, I'll go ahead and reset my table, and let's go ahead and focus on the actual revenue going for here. I have by region. Let's go ahead and add another detail in here. Let's put the region into the columns instead. And let's put something else, a lower level, into the rows. Maybe I'll put the ship state in the rows, right? So now just by doing that, we can get some really specific answers here as well. We can see that, for example, California and the West region, we had 4 orders submitted in that particular region, okay? So we will start to see, as we start moving these fields into these different boxes, our table is going to get more advanced and provide even more information for us. But now that's how we change how our values are being summarized. Let's go ahead and add the revenue to the values. Let's go ahead and apply the accountant format as we did before. Now we have the sum of revenue. Let's go ahead and get revenue by region. Let's figure out what else we want. Let's go ahead and grab the sales by category. I'll place the category into the rows, and let's just pause for a moment and take a look at the data that's being displayed here. So this is quite a bit of data to take a look at, right? But think about this in tabular form. I'm actually going to go ahead and click on the design tab here, and I will change the report layout to more look like an Excel table. We don't have grid lines here. I'll change the layout here to tabular form. There we go. Now we can see that we are getting our totals. Let's go ahead and identify all of these numbers here. So here's our grand total. So let's go ahead and identify all of our numbers here. So here's our grand total of all of our revenue down here in the bottom. Here is the total for East region, North, South, and West. Okay, we are summarizing that column here as well. And over the right here, here's the totals for baked goods and mixers, right? So just by having the region and the columns, the categories and the rows, and the revenue and the values, we can see we can answer a lot of questions and condense it form here, right? We can also sort. So if I wanted to sort this total column here, I can click on the data tab. I'll sort Z to 8, or from A to Z, or largest to smallest. We can see that beverages, we have the highest amount of sales for beverages. Oil generated the smallest revenue. Now we have a lot of fields in here that we can use. Now when you are building a pivot table, you don't have to use all of the fields. You don't really have to do that. You just can keep it very simple.